Welcome to another Lifelong Learn Study Skills Workshop video. Today we're going to focus in on a study skill called the Post-it note game. There are no handouts for this particular study skill. However, if you'd like to write down my email address in case you have any questions, feel free to email me. Also, I invite you to follow me on Twitter at Mr. Panfalone. Often I will post articles or links that relate to study skills on my Twitter account at Mr. Panfalone, and I usually hashtag it Study Skills Workshop. So feel free to do so. How about we get started? Okay, the Post-it note game is a study skill, a study technique that is specifically targeted towards simple memorization of information. So if you are studying for a vocabulary quiz in language arts, if you are studying for a history test that asks simple questions like dates, like what year did the Declaration of Independence get signed, or who was the general for the British during World War II, simple things like that, this is a perfect study technique. Now, if you're looking to study for an essay test, or where you have to memorize larger chunks of information, this is not going to work for you. Another reason why this is a good study technique, this really addresses students that are kinesthetic or students that are like me when I was in junior high who struggle with sitting still and studying for 30 to 45 minutes at a time. And one important thing that students need to understand, no matter what technique you use when you study, just going home and taking your vocabulary list and just reading over it, that's better than nothing, but that is not an effective way to study. So this Post-it note game is an opportunity for kids to get up moving around. And so how does this work? Well, as you can see here, one of my students I tutored, Jacob, was a 9th grade student taking Spanish. Jacob was studying for a Spanish test, and he had about 45 words. And you're thinking, well, I don't see 45 words on this dry erase board. Correct. We studied, and we noticed that there were about 15 words that he constantly missed. And so we pulled those 15 words, and we wrote out on a Post-it note the Spanish word, on another Post-it note the English. And as you see here on the dry erase board, we lined up the Spanish words nice and neatly in an orderly fashion. On the other side, the English words is kind of scattered. Now, actually, the better way of doing this is picking one wall where you have the Spanish words all kind of together and on the English on the other side. And we did try that. Unfortunately, some walls don't allow Post-it notes to stick as well, so we had to make an adjustment and we used the dry erase board, which is not the best way. It's better to have it more spread out where students have to kind of run back and forth to do that. Anyway, what I would do is I would time him and say go, and we'd have a stopwatch, and I would allow him the time to grab the English word that matched up with the Spanish word and put them right next to each other. And once he was done, we'd hit the stopwatch and we'd see how much time. Then we'd go and double check that he was accurate. Because here's the deal, when you go to take the test tomorrow, you are not getting extra points because you're the first kid to turn it in. So then why are we doing a race when we're studying? Well, we're just trying to make this a little bit more interesting. Better yet, grab a friend, say, hey, come on over tonight, let's study. Make it a competition between you and your friend or a couple friends. Maybe the next day, try it again and see if you can beat your own time. But the biggest and most important aspect of doing this is making sure that you're accurate, not that you're the fastest. Again, the better solution here is to have Post-it notes on separate walls where you kind of have to run back and forth or do a little bit movement than what Jacob has to do here in the picture. But if you don't have walls that allow Post-it notes to stick, it can become very frustrating. When you're finished with this Post-it note game, make sure you put all the Post-it notes back together, put them in separate Ziploc bags so you don't lose them, and you can do this over and over until the day of your quiz and test. And of course, you're not waiting until the night before to study. You're going to do this a little bit each night. And if you're like Jacob, who has a semester exam at the end of the semester with all of the vocabulary words, which could be up to 150, 200 different Spanish words, he can pull out all of these old Ziploc bags that are labeled, and he can practice the game as individual ones, or take all 150 words all at once and make it even more challenging. That is totally up to you. If you have any questions, let me go ahead and put up the screen with my email address again, and feel free to email me. But I hope this study technique helps you out, and thanks again for watching a Lifelong Learn Study Skills workshop.